Two lunatics talking about Power Rangers, from the Bright and Dark Blue series by Kara alias Rydra. When Daniel walked into the dining area, he found that Renegade was seated at a table. The slender alien had a box of colored pencils and was working on a coloring book. A black mug and a blue mug, as well as a small, unopened jug of fruit punch and an open, partially drunken bottle of soda, also sat on the table. Without looking up, Renegade told Daniel, "I was hoping you'd stop by." "Is that right?" Renegade casually moved the colored pencil from his right hand to his left as he looked up. "I was just thinking about a great rivalry from a TV show." He nonchalantly picked up the closest chair with one hand and flung it directly at Daniel. However, Daniel, equally nonchalant, caught the chair with one hand. He smirked in triumph. Renegade chuckled gleefully. "I'd expect nothing less from a rival of mine. Now that you have a chair, come here and have a seat." Daniel brought the chair over to Renegade's table. As he sat down, he noticed that the brand of fruit punch Renegade had was one he enjoyed too. He mused that the lunatic had good taste. He also saw that the coloring book had a Power Rangers theme. He thought back to when Renegade had told him that he had seen every episode of the Power Rangers franchise. When Daniel had asked, "So, what did you think?" the alien had replied, "Should I have any kind of thought about it?" Daniel's eye twitched in irritation, causing Renegade to laugh and remark he had reminded him of an interview he did with a certain reporter. Sometime afterward, the subject of Power Rangers came up again. Daniel had noted, "You're obviously a fan of the series," to which Renegade replied, "I never said I wasn't a fan. I just asked if there were any kind of thought I should have about it." Daniel was brought out of his remembrance when Renegade stated, "I trust you're not going to have an issue with me coloring." "You'd think I'd have an issue with that more than you flinging a chair at my freaking face? You'd be surprised at what minor things some people go on rants about." "I know what you mean. My good buddy Kent is a fan of a cartoon that's meant for a different audience." "Hey, that just means he's expanding his horizons by sampling different media." "There you go. I'll tell him that next time I talk with him. I've thought before that him watching cartoons isn't hurting anyone, so what's the big deal?" "Exactly. Anyway, like I said, I was just thinking about a great rivalry from a TV show. Jason and Tommy from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers." "I agree, that was a good one." Jason had two great rivalries, one with Tommy and one with Goldar. They're both great, though I was reflecting on the first one recently. I know it made for some good episodes. Some of the best, I'd say. Another great rivalry, storyline, whatever you want to call it, was Eric and Wes in Power Rangers Time Force. From what I know, I'd have to agree. There was a pause as Renegade took a drink from the blue mug, and afterward he told Daniel, "I'm glad you didn't ask me that irritating question." "What irritating question?" "Way too often when you talk about characters like that, someone will ask, 'Which one is better?' or some variant." "Oh, yeah, that gets annoying. You want me to pick a favorite? Okay, my favorite is whichever one hurts you for asking that." He curled his fingers, tipped with claws strong and sharp enough to tear the hide off a baseball as easily as peeling an orange, around the soda bottle. Then he held his thumb over the neck and made a swift motion to pantomime something being slit. "Where I'm from, there's an expression, 'Don't make me choose between my ears.' You notice how often the people who ask that have an agenda? Thank you! Like, dude, if you think a character is great, just say so and don't worry if anyone else agrees. Don't go fishing for compliments. The Paul brothers had a video one time—" "I'm sure they did," Daniel interrupted, wanting to put the kibosh on that conversation point. Well, okay then. The same people fishing for compliments are the same ones who get angry if your favorite isn't their favorite. Exactly! You're exactly right. By the way, have you ever thought about having conversations like this in public? I mean, when you become a big hero, you're going to be talking with fans young and old, right? Right. He happily drank in the fact that his rival had said when he became a big hero and not if before continuing. I have given it a lot of thought, I'm not going to lie. I know I'm not going to fish for compliments or anything. That's good. I'm going to give you some advice about talking with people. Daniel joked, Great, and then Genghis Khan can give Ivan the Terrible advice on pacifism, Mr. I'd love to fill your lungs with laughing gas boy. Renegade laughed. Okay, that's good. My advice is if a show or something comes up and someone says so-and-so is my favorite character or I want to be such and such a character, ask them more about it. If they don't want to, don't press it. If they do, they can share why they like the character. I mean, when they say they like a character, there could be a number of things they mean. Let's say they like the Black Ranger. Do they mean the first Black Power Ranger? Do they mean the second Black Power Ranger? Do they mean the Black Ninja Ranger? Do they... Wait, are you talking about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers still? Mm-hmm. I thought the Black Ninja Ranger was the second Black Power Ranger. Same character, same actor, but maybe the person doesn't know that. Maybe they just saw the costume and decided he was their favorite based on costume alone. He nodded in understanding. Gotcha. Let's say they tell you the Black Power Ranger is their favorite. Do they mean Zack? Do they mean Adam? Or do they like the costume, arsenal, Zords, etc., and not care who's in the costume? I'm not trying to be obsessive, just saying that you can't always assume what someone means. I understand. Thanks. Not a problem. Let me practice. Is there any Power Ranger you'd like to be? I won't make fun if you say someone unpopular, and I won't call you basic if you say someone popular. That's very good of you. However, I don't compare myself to any of the Power Rangers. Why's that? I don't see the need to when I'm objectively better than all of them. Daniel blinked, not only because of the sentiment, but also because of the casual sincerity behind it. He had said it as casually as someone reporting the current time or temperature. He mused, This guy's ego is bigger than the friggin' Megazord. Renegade said, This guy's ego is bigger than the friggin' Megazord. That's it, right? Yeah, it is. He reflected on how Renegade was the only one so far to be able to predict him, then joked, So, when are we getting the dozens of Power Rangers vs. Renegade fanfiction? I made sure the Rangers never made it to the battlefield and I walked away in triumph while they slept it off. Boom! That's the whole story. He took another drink and then stated, I do like Trini, though. He was a little surprised but nodded in agreement. That's understandable. Other characters get more attention, but the time comes when you realize that you need a Trini in your life if you don't have one already. Recently I was rewatching a Jason Geiger video. Wait, who? Daniel asked in confusion. The guy who played the first Red Power Ranger. Wait, you mean Austin St. John? Well, that's his stage name. I forgot that you like to refer to people by their real names. You can't blame me for being confused. I mean, how was I supposed to get Austin St. John from Jason Geiger? Renegade dryly cracked, Well, somebody did, obviously. Daniel gave him a look and then had a thought. Could you make a list of Power Rangers actors with stage names so I'll know who you're talking about in the future? Sure. I'll have it for you tomorrow, or sometime later this week. Thank you, I appreciate it. You're certainly welcome. After a little thought, he asks, If I say Jason Frank, you'll know I mean Jason David Frank, right? Daniel gave Renegade the longest, really playa look of his life, then rubbed his face in aggravation. It wasn't so much the actual question that irked him as the sincerity behind it. Finally, he replied, I'll try to use like 5% of my brain power to remember that. He realized immediately that he had erred. All he could do was brace for impact. Sure enough, Renegade pounced on this unexpected opportunity and retorted, Hey, that's like twice the amount you normally use. As Renegade finished laughing at his wisecrack, Daniel stated, I handed you that setup on a silver platter, didn't I? You slid in head first like my main man Pete Rose. So his name actually is David Frank, huh? It's not Jason Radiometer or something like that. No, it's Jason David Rankinometer. Boy, if you don't shut your smart aleck mouth up. Oh, here's a fun fact. It's not about yet another mofo named Jason, is it? No, it's about a Johnny. Johnny Young Bosk's real name is John J. Bosk. Huh. Well, I admit that was an actual fun fact. As he took a drink from his bottle of sports drink, he briefly mused on how Renegade called other people by their real names, yet refused to reveal his own. Finally, he offered, Jason Geiger sounds like an 80s action hero. You can check out his projects and see if you like them. Not Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, though, because he got screwed in that one. Okay, so he's on a couple YouTube channels, Fanword and Austin St. John. Wait, the channel is also called Austin St. John? You know, if you didn't want to use the fellow stage name, you could have just said the guy from the Austin St. John channel. It would have taken me only 2% of my brain power to figure out that esoteric puzzle. He sighed. I'm almost afraid to ask. His channel is JDFFFN. Oh, so the channel name is 2 more F's than I have to give about you at any given moment. Please continue. Fanword had a video with Geiger talking about the late Thuy Trang, R.I.P. Daniel nodded sympathetically. He had some nice things to say. There was also a funny story. They had to have someone unzip the suits for them to use the bathroom. Well, he'd have to use the bathroom, but as a joke she'd refrain from unzipping him. Daniel chuckled. Well, that goes to show that when you go to fight monsters, make sure you have the proper undergarments. Quoting an episode of a cartoon, Renegade offered, They're tinkle togs, just like the astronauts wear. I'm so glad my costume has pants. He looked at Renegade's jacket and something came to mind. I can make a guess, but why is it your clothes and accessories don't disintegrate when your energy force field activates? The alien joked, What, are you disappointed my clothes don't dissolve? Daniel's face flushed in irritation before paling. After a pause, he quipped, If I wanted to see a weird piece of flesh, I'd look at my face in the mirror. Renegade burst out laughing. He finally managed to get out, Did you just commit kamikaze by words? I wasn't about to hand you another chance to crack wise about me. I've already sworn to be a better class of maniac than you, so maybe I'll swear to be better at making jokes about my nose than you too. Renegade mockingly saluted. Good luck, ha ha! As for why my energy force field doesn't damage things on my person, as you probably guessed, it's because of their closeness to me. As long as they're not attempted to be used for self-harm or someone tries to use them against me, my clothes and whatnot are recognized as valuable items. Also, I'm sure my clothes get a coating of skin cells and sweat. Daniel wondered, did he just imply that his cells and bodily fluids could protect against his energy force field? He decided to test it out. He declared, Impressive. I may not have an ability like that, but I do fine with my shield. I'll be able to hold my own without fancy powers. He spat into his hand and held it out for a handshake. I guarantee it. Renegade grinned. I'm sure you will. He spat into his palm and accepted Daniel's handshake. Both used strong grips, and Renegade also activated his energy force field as if to show off his strength further. Daniel's palm felt irritated except for the spot moistened by Renegade's saliva. Afterward, Renegade cleaned his hand with a tissue and Daniel cleaned his with a sanitizing wipe. He thought, so that confirms it. He had to have figured out what I was doing, and yet he let me do it. In fact, he activated his force field just so I could prove my theory. He let me figure out something that could be used against him. He must want to see what I can do with it. Playing with a handicap is more challenging, and that can make things more fun. Since things were going well, he decided to try making conversation again. So you mentioned people liking Zords and things like that. Are there times you like that stuff better than the characters and storylines? Definitely. There have been times when the costumes and weapons were better than anything else. I like the Zords, except for that bratty deer Zord from Wild Force. I also think the story of Guardian Beast Dragon Caesar / the Dragon Zord was more emotional than the original Jew Ranger series. Light a candle for Burai. Daniel started to say, Mofo, do you think Burai ever wants to see a candle again? But then he decided it was the thought that counted and just nodded. Don't sleep on Power Rangers storylines, though, because there are some great ones. A lot of characters had great storylines. One neat thing about the series is you have all these characters, and they may have their own issues and whatnot, but there's still a connection. That's true. You watch episodes like Missing Green, A Different Shade of Pink, King for a Day... He stopped suddenly. His already pale visage turned even lighter before changing to a more intense hue. Daniel stared in confusion as he wondered why the lunatic had an "oh shoot, I messed up" expression. You know what, forget about watching Where in the World is Zeo Ranger 5 and King for a Day from Zeo. What? Why? It's just, you should be training instead of spending your time watching these shows with robots kidnapping people and messing with them. Daniel realized his hidden meaning. Kidnapping people and messing with them meant kidnapping people and performing some kind of experiment or procedure on them. Renegade didn't want him to get triggered from watching something that might make him have flashbacks to when he was imprisoned and experimented on. Oh, I'm glad you said something. Don't worry about it, man. Trying to lighten things back up, he joked, I could watch these shows for 14 hours a day if I wanted and not lose any of my sharpness, but you need to keep up your training. Daniel smirked. Don't worry about me falling behind. Good. I could make a list of other episodes you might want to avoid. I'd appreciate that, thank you. Renegade nodded. Out of curiosity, would that include episodes that just plain suck? He snorted in amusement. Maybe. Do you have any pet peeves when it comes to episodes? One, I hate spills. There are already plenty of petty reasons to hate someone, but instead of addressing that, let's have a hate spill. I heard the Hate Master episode. Oh, up the Hate Master episode's nose with a rubber hose. They still had the hate spell instead of choosing to stick with addressing the hate that already existed, so my point stands. You could have someone subtly manipulate the characters to turn them against each other, like what happens in real life, but nope, let's use a freaking hate spell. Hey, people who make episodes with hate spells. The creature who fires energy blasts and makes people hallucinate they're being surrounded by flaming orangutans is telling you that you need to learn how to be subtle. He rattled off something in a foreign language. What was that? That was Latin for, the language I'm speaking is called subtlety, which they know nothing about. Oh, and you know what else gets me? These episodes in which a character has to prove himself or herself, even though there's no need to, because they already freaking have. They had a bad start, but they've proven themselves, and yet suddenly something comes up and it's, oh, how do we know they're good? Mofo, they've proven they're good eggs 12 times over. It's one thing if you're addressing guilt, but otherwise... He punctuated his sentence with the sound of weary disgust. I know just what you mean. His mouth had started to foam due to his excitement. He wiped it clean and then spent a minute in thought. Finally he asked, It's always a spell, isn't it? What is? The reason anyone does anything amiss in that series. Why can't... His voice suddenly cracked and then he coughed. Daniel looked concerned since he could tell his voice hadn't cracked from throat issues and the cough was just a cover. Are you okay? I'm fine. I just need a minute. Sure. Go ahead and moisten your throat as much as you need to. He drank some more, poured the rest of his soda into the blue mug, and then finished, Why can't it ever be due to mental illness? Well, there was that guy, let's see, Heckle, right? Oh, yeah, from Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge. He was trying to do something good and he got corrupted by some kind of crystal, the Dark Energem. The emotionally damaged hero stared at his own bottle. You could look at it as something bad happened, and it changed him into someone he didn't want to be. That way it's a metaphor. Yeah, that's good of you to say, man. After a pause, he added, I might recommend some episodes to watch. One I like is The Song of Guitardo from MMPR Season 2. Guitar, huh? It makes sense for you to like a musical episode. Not just the music, but also the way they fought the monster. Oh, since you had asked about costumes, I think the season with the best costumes is Power Rangers in Space. When it comes to Zeo, the costumes are cool from the neck down, but from the neck up you wonder, what are you doing with your life? You went from cool helmet designs to breakfast table, 1 + 1 = 2, triangle lover, unlabeled mixtape, and I got 5 on it. No heckling for the Gold Ranger helmet? No, because that one was actually neat. Yeah, if you were a Power Ranger, what theme would you have? Either a raven, some kind of dragon hybrid, or some kind of monster bird. And the color would be blue, black, or some shade of gray. What about you? An eagle, a falcon, a wolf, or a buffalo, and the color would be either blue or red. Maybe we should form our own team and call it Moody Blue or True Blue or something like that. Feeling cheeky, Daniel declared, Our name shall be Forever Red. An irritated renegade began, Oh, you dirty mother, before snickering in amusement over Daniel being a smart aleck. Well, I suppose it's a good idea. What shall our theme song be? Still feeling cheeky, he offered, Green, green, because Deep Purple isn't fitting. I'm tempted to suggest Smoke on the Water, but I like your suggestion. You know, the Red Rangers play the leadership role, except for the time they didn't. It's fitting that a team I'm part of would have red in the name. You know how I get sometimes. He took the jug of fruit punch, arose, stepped over to Daniel, and held the jug up close to his neck. Sometimes I feel like turning the whole world red. He punctured the plastic jug with one of his claws and angled it so the red beverage flowed into the black cup. Daniel felt a sick sense of dread, but he also found himself thinking, You could have said it's fitting because I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan, but I guess that's not as dramatic. Renegade set the now partially empty jug back on the table and picked up his bottle, mug, and coloring materials. In any case, being a Red Ranger isn't my thing, but I can see you as one, so do what you want. Daniel realized later that Renegade was paying him a compliment by saying he could picture him in a leadership role. He was also saying he wasn't interested in taking a leadership role himself, unofficially making Daniel the leader of Forever Red. Well, it's been great talking with you. He started walking away. I just came to drop that off. What? That mug is for you. Don't worry, the punch and mug aren't doped. Have a good one. Thanks. After his rival left, Daniel turned back to look at the black mug. Picking it up and felt sturdy and well made. He guessed Renegade had purchased it from an online store since he'd done that before. As he drank from it, he noticed a design on the other side. He turned the cup around to see a picture of Jason and Tommy as the Red and Green Power Rangers. He grinned. It's a cool cup, Ren. I get the message you're trying to send me. You want our rivalry to be as epic as theirs. You won't catch me slacking off. I told you already, didn't I? I don't plan to fall behind. He drank the punch from the cup and then poured himself another helping. So his name actually is David Frank, huh? It's not Jason Radiometer or something like that. No, it's Jason... No, it's Jason David Rankinometer. Boy, if you don't shut your smart aleck mouth up. Oh, here's a fun fact. It's not about yet another mofo named Jason, is it? No, it's about a Johnny. Johnny Young Bosk's real name is John J. Bosk. Huh. Well, I admit that was an actual fun fact. As he took a drink from his bottle of sports drink, he briefly mused on how Renegade called other people by their real names, yet refused to reveal his own. Finally, he offered, "Jason Geiger sounds like an 80s action hero. You can check out his projects and see if you like them." I keep laughing at my own stupid joke.